Vihari. Yeah, and I would like to have the come on at the beginning of the session. And okay, Dave, are you here?
Yes, Pate, my apologies. We're ready.
Okay, very good. So I'm going to start now. Yes, so I think we are live on Facebook and YouTube now. Hello, everyone. Welcome to our bi-weekly sutra discussion with the venerable monks and nuns. And of course, we don't have nuns today, but we are very happy to have these venerable monks for this unique discussion. Let us begin the discussion by paying our respectful homage to the Buddha. Namo tassa bhagavato arahato samma sambuddhassa. Namo tassa bhagavato arahato samma sambuddhassa. Namo tassa bhagavato arahato samma sambuddhassa. I pay my respect and homage to him, the Blessed One, the Worthy One, the fully enlightened Buddha. So first of all, I would like to wish you all happy Thanksgiving, Canadian Thanksgiving. And I think today is in the United States Columbus Day. It's a kind of a long weekend for everyone.
Also called Indigenous Peoples Day.
Indigenous Peoples Day. Amazing. Not Columbus Day, right? Okay.
The same.
The same. Okay. So happy Indigenous Peoples Day, happy Columbus Day, happy Thanksgiving Day. And I know the venerable monks and nuns kind of busy with their temple activities, but today I'm very grateful and thankful to have all of you for coming to join this discussion. So before we get into the sutra discussion, I would like to introduce the venerable monks to our audience. So first, we have Venerable Trudeau. He is joining the discussion from Florida, USA. And then we have Venerable Bhante Sanat Vihari. He's from Los Angeles, but these days in the East Coast in New York. And then we have Venerable Bhante Nanda joining the discussion from Long Island, New York, USA. And then we have Venerable Bhante Jayasara joining the discussion from New Jersey, USA. And then we have Venerable Shanta Sobana joining the discussion from Los Angeles, USA. Then we have Venerable Digale Somaksha from joining the discussion from Vancouver, Canada. And then we have Venerable Bhante Kusala joining the discussion from Boston, USA. And we have some devotee families, and also I see Charlie, you're joining the discussion from Washington State. Thank you for your great interest in this discussion. And we have other friends who are here in Zoom platform. So I would like to give you all warm welcome to this bi-weekly sutra discussion. And also I would like to give a warm welcome to our Dhamma friends who are watching this program on Facebook and YouTube Live. So I have a kind request from all of you and from our friends, Dhamma friends who are watching on Facebook and YouTube Live. If it is possible, please share this program in your social media timelines for the greater benefit of all your family, friends, and colleagues. And I think on Thanksgiving Day, it's good to share this kind of program as a gift of Dhamma to your friends. Today's topic, I said last week, we had a great discussion on the first path of the Noble Eightfold Path, Samma Ditti, the right view. Why is it so important for us to cultivate? And all of you shared amazing wisdom, words of wisdom with the stories. People greatly appreciated that. And today we are going to discuss the next path of the Noble Eightfold Path, Samma Sankappa, the right intention or right thought. So this discussion is going to be based on the one of the sutras of the Majjhima Nikaya, the middle length discourses of the Buddha, and the sutra number 19, Dveda Vitakka Sutta. And so we have made the topic of today's discussion as Samma Sankappa, right thought, pros and cons of two sorts of thinking. To give a summary of this sutra, I would like to kindly and respectfully invite Bhante Kusala from Boston. So Bhante Kusala.
Thank you, Bante. I like the word kindfully, a word that you have been promoting and of the upcoming release of your book as well.
Yeah.
So I'd like everyone's attention on that wonderful book project that Bante has been doing, and he's about to publish his book.
Thank you.
And I really, as a companion of holy life, as the Sangha says, I really wish you all the best, and I want more books of you to come out in the future.
Thank you.
And that said, it's an honor for me to give a summary of this sutta. This is a very beautiful sutta, and I'm really happy you brought it to the discussion. This is one sutta where it says, what you think, you become. The sutta itself says, whatever a monk keeps pursuing with his thinking and pondering, that becomes the inclination of his awareness. And so that is one thing that we can discuss based on this sutta. And this sutta gives a meter for us to divide our thoughts, and we ourselves, when we ask questions, we ask the biggest questions from ourselves, and that is very important. When a monk is meditating, you are not responsible for anyone else's thinking. You are directing your mind in the right direction. In that, you can ask the biggest questions. Is this thought a sensual thought? Is it, if it is a sensual thought, and it can be harmful to oneself and harmful to others, and thinking about how harmful it can lead to frustration, especially when someone is dealing with a lot of lust. That person is usually very frustrated, and it is not visible to others to know why this person is very frustrated all the day. But it can be that this person is actually dealing with some attachment, some form of attachment. It's like a child is playing with his toys, and a mother would take the toys away, and the child is now very frustrated. So it's easy to understand with that kind of thinking. But when we have come to that kind of place where you see that frustration, you abandon it. It's simple as that. It is thoughts of sensuality that can lead to frustration. It is thought of ill will, anger. Definitely, when a monk is meditating, he can count the times that he was angry, because he's not often angry, but you can count the times. This week I was angry 2 times. You can say that to yourself. And you can definitely work on that, because you are not often angry, but you can definitely catch the times when you were angry and how hard it was on your mind, overall body, on your overall body, health, and how difficult it was for you to see that from coming. It's important that we see that from coming, and knowing that, you see the danger of it, how harmful it was for you and how harmful it was for others, and you abandon it. And thoughts of uh, hinsa, destroying, harming oneself and harming others. This is a thought about maybe the first precept, where you can use something to kill somebody or some animal. And these thoughts can come to us, that you may be doing walking meditation and you see those insects. Instead of stepping on the insects, those bugs, can you instead choose a different kind of thinking? And that way you save the innocent lives, and you also save yourself from engaging in bad karma. And let me also point out, that this thinking, this sutta also says that overthinking is bad for you. This is one sutta where it says that overthinking is bad. It says this way: thinking and pondering a long time would tire the body and tire the mind. So some of us may be dealing with overthinking, thinking about something that never happened, thinking about something, that that is perhaps happening, and you are fearing that is going to be worse. So that kind of thinking can be tiresome to the body and tiresome to the mind. So the Buddha gives that beautifully in this discourse, and we can open up the discussion and learn from the venerable monks today. The Buddha also gives a simile. It's like a cowherd. In the beginning, when he's training his cows, he has to poke them. He has to discipline them, because he sees the danger that he will be punished if any of his cows go astray and destroy somebody else's crop. And he will be imprisoned, he will be punished, his family will not get his support, because he will lose his job. And these kind of thinking help him to do his job properly, so that he can discipline his cows and keep them on his guard. But when he has done his job, when the crop is harvested, he doesn't have to worry about that any longer. And if he has disciplined his cows, he doesn't have to worry at all. But these are animals, and he has to keep them on guard all the time. And when you have guided your mind in the proper direction, there is also benefits of that. The Buddha says, unflagging persistence was aroused in him, in the Buddha, and unmuddled mindfulness established. My body was calm, and my body was at peace. My mind concentrated and was focused. So these are the things that I can give maybe in the form of a summary, and we can maybe touch these in our discussion, and maybe our venerable monks will bring more. And thank you, Bhante.
Yeah, thank you, Bhante Kusala, for giving the summary of this sutra, Dveda Vitaka Sutta, the discourse on two sorts of thinking. And I think there's so much to learn from this sutra, basically Buddha is talking about his own experience of thinking two types of thoughts, like the pros and cons, like, and he really experienced the advantages and disadvantages of thinking these two kinds of thoughts. And I'm very happy to hear, like you brought up that beautifully, like, overthinking. When uh, people do overthinking, think too much about something, a particular thought, or entertaining that, or focusing too much on that particular thought, how it tires the body and mind, and eventually, I think it leads to depression, I guess, right? When you start thinking too much about these negative thoughts. And here, Buddha is giving us a way of uh, releasing or freeing ourselves from such thinking, and going towards our fundamental goal, the liberation, the vimukti or nirvana. So let us get into this discussion. So I don't know, nobody has raised hands yet, but let me ask you a very simple question. How do we apply this teaching into our daily life? Like, okay, I see Venerable Bhante Jaisara from New Jersey raised his hand. Bhante Jaisara.
Thank you, Bante and Venerable Mahasangha. So this is when I read the email that this sutta was going to be the topic, I became very excited and giddy, because this is probably the sutta that I read, this is going back 16 years ago now, is when I really started getting into the suttas. This was probably the first sutta that I read that solidified in me the Buddha's teachings as being very practical and pragmatic and able to be put into practice right then and there. I remember reading this sutta, and I was like, I can do this right now. I can literally start, discriminating my thoughts in this way. This thought arises, that's what's happening. And I did. Right? And I really love this sutta. I teach sutta a lot. I really recommend the sutta because it is something that anybody can do. Anybody can put this into practice, even if you're a very beginner, brand new meditator. You don't have to have an advanced understanding of the mind to put this into practice. It's also a very good beginner kind of mindfulness practice. Let me take a minute and reflect on the state of my mind. What is arising? The Bhante Kusala mentioned the one line that the Buddha says in the sutta. What you think and ponder becomes the inclination of the mind. And when I first read this, I was like, wait a second. This was in my classroom at school. Growing up, I saw, it was like what you think you become. Growing up, I saw these kind of things in I said, the Buddha said this. This is amazing. So this sutta was just so impactful for me in my early days and kind of starting to develop my faith in the Buddha and his teachings. And it's such a simple practice to put into practice that has profound benefits. Just being able to do that one simple thing, this has arisen. And one of the things I like to point out in this sutta that I didn't really recognize until later is the way the Buddha handles the unskillful mind states. This is very important. He says, when I recognize that these mind states will be harmful, I abandon them. And people might think this means is like forcing it out of your mind or something like this, but the Buddha says, no, I notice. And if you watch that, at least in my experience, watching my own mind, for the most part, if you do what the bhikkhus and bhikkhunis in the ancient times did, I see you, Mara. What does Mara do? Mara goes away. Now, of course, later Mara comes back from a different angle and attacks you from a different angle. Yeah. But when you notice that this unskillful mind state, this thought has arisen, most of the time, just acknowledging and understanding that this has arisen is enough for it to go away. And if it doesn't, the Buddha then explains what you do in the next sutta, Majjhima Nikaya 20, right? Removal of distracting thoughts. But this was also very profound for me because I realized when I noticed that, okay, this is an unskillful thought, and this is not good. If I acted out on this, it will be harmful to myself and others. Just noticing that, I could let it go. Important, very basic, wonderful practice that I encourage everybody to do, to really start to understand the mind, the thoughts, and the mind states that arise, and recognizing the gratification, the danger, and the escape of certain aspects of our mind. And what does the Buddha say when he notices this is a thought that is not harmful? I could think about it for a day and a night and no harm would come. So if it's a good thought, if it's a beneficial thought, then no problem. If it's an unskillful thought, let it go. That's all I'm going to give it to the other monastics.
No, thank you, Venerable Jayasara, for sharing that insight with us. I think we all monks have read that sutra. Even for me, I have been reading this sutra many times. Every time I conduct a retreat for my meditation teaching, and I remember maybe Venerable Sanat Vihari is very interested in Punnaji's teachings. I know you have put his teachings in somewhere together. He used to talk a lot about a kind of his phrase is called selective thinking. He used that word a lot, selectively. That's how I got into that sutra and to understand it. So when you select the good thoughts to think and how it impacts you for your own betterment. But if you select to think the negative thoughts, how it destroys your peace of mind. And I feel, wow, this is amazing. And then after that, I started talking about it a lot. So I'm glad to hear that Venerable Jayasara, you read the sutra, this sutra first, and how it impacted you. So this is very interesting. And next, I see Venerable Shanta Sobana from Los Angeles. Venerable Shanta Sobana, what's in your mind?
Well, thank you very much, Venerable Sirs. And actually, as other Venerables mentioned, this is a very beautiful sutra.
Yeah.
We always take this sutra as one of the basic sutra to discuss our meditation. The very reason is because in the Western world, it is most of the people familiar with the free will. And so this sutra is very clearly shows us how we can understand our free will. Another thing is, what is the meaning of the wisdom? Another thing is that as Venerable Saranapala from the beginning asked how we can apply this to our day-to-day life, because this is a very important sutra, give a very clear understanding about the mind is different. The mind is not the thoughts, because the thoughts arise in the mind. So that means the mind is something else. But most of the time people tangle with the thoughts believing that is everything, but not. The life is beyond the thoughts. So sometimes we so attached to our thoughts, and we, because of that attachment, we keep repeating again and again and again. That repetition brings us to react. So that reaction creates some kind of pattern which we call habits. So that habitual pattern sometimes give us a hard time, and it is not profitable for us. So anybody, if look for a change, this sutra beautifully shows and how you can get that change by yourself. Because when it comes to the Buddha's life, that we know through the sutras that that wisdom means not something came from outside, not it's someone else that kind of like the someone else initiate. It's just observing, recognizing. So this is that in the Buddha in this sutra very clearly mentioned how most of time how he understood this wisdom. So when he observed the mind, he saw thought two kind of thoughts. So that one is desire, ill will, cruelty, and other thing is renunciation, loving kindness, and compassion. So this all arise in us, and at the same time, what we can understand when we experience something in our mind, it is not everything, and other thing is uh, it is not the only thing. It doesn't matter good or bad. So we have if we have that kind of point of view, rather than hold it to it, when we experience the thought, if we have the ability to withdraw from the thoughts and see it, and that seeing itself give the ability to overcome if it is an unwholesome thought in the very first level, before we go to the next step. So then the important thing is here, how we can apply it to our day-to-day life, especially nowadays as we see with this all the machines, technology, and all this success, then the people day by day getting to more kind of like mentally and physically they get into a very difficult situation. And more than any other time, people experience anxiety, depression, and a lot of people suicide without any reason because they can't handle this mind. So then we have to understand our own thoughts have ability to take us to liberation and the nibbana, and at the same time, this our own thoughts can take us to hell, or it can kill us and it can destroy us. And not only that, according to this sutra, it very clearly says that whatever we think, it is just not only for us. Whatever we think, it affects for other people also. And so then we have to be very careful as a husband, wife, children, friends and family members, brothers, sisters. We have to be very careful, because in case if we get into some kind of wrong thoughts pattern, it gives a hard time to other people. Just imagine in case just very, very near one, very dear ones have a hard time because of your own thinking. No one can change me. So then, if anybody look for a change, I think these sutras give a very clear foundation how you can find that change. The most of time people don't look for a change, and sometimes people don't understand they can change. They just keep going whatever available in their mind. But here, that they very clearly shows us that if you experience something difficult for you, hard for you, and sad, worried, disappointed, and if there's a fear in you, and you have to remember, it is not only the one thing that you have, or it is not the everything. And rather than getting that, and let it be, don't try to go and fight with it, or don't try to control it, don't try to kind of like change it. Just observe and recognize and withdraw from it. And then itself, then you will see how it slowly become weaker. And other thing is, the important part, when we go to the deeper level of this sutra, when we come to the mindfulness, it is very important for everybody whoever listen this, because this platform become kind of like I heard there are a lot of students who have practiced meditation and they listening. So if anybody look for a change, and if anybody look for to cultivate the mind, this give a very clear answer how you can cultivate that. Because mostly whatever we think, so the mind is separate, mind is our background, so our foreground is our thoughts. So then sometimes when we don't see the background, that means we don't see our mind, we see our thoughts. So thoughts arise because of our past experience or all the future desires. So then, but important thing we have to understand, it doesn't matter whatever the thoughts we experience from the past, or it doesn't matter how the thoughts we experience regarding our future, that both we experience in the present moment. Is so in the if you recognize that, it gives an ability for yourself to take a choice. So if you can develop that conscious choice, it's always going to give an opportunity for you to change. So that is in according to the Buddha's teaching, that we can see how you can develop your free will. The free will doesn't mean it exists somewhere or it's depend on someone else's wish or opinion. It's dependent according to the very necessary condition of the present moment of your mind and how you understand it and how mind react to your own thoughts. So as other venerables mentioned, each and everybody have opportunity, rather than going with the difficulties or the repeating or reacting to the same thing, and see yourself. And if it is hard for you, difficult for you, sad for you, don't keep repeating. You have opportunity and you can change it. So to change that, you have to see the very present moment of the condition of your mind and understand it. So when it comes to the wisdom, a lot of people ask, what is the wisdom? What is the wisdom? So according to this sutra, if you are capable to see your own thoughts by your own mind, then you will see how things come to be as they are. So that means that what we experience is everything, end of the day, it is our own thoughts.
Yeah, so you actually brought up a lot of stuff here. Like, I think we have to honestly think about the importance of this teaching for our own self and also for the benefit of others. It's not just me. I think when what I get from you, Venerable Shanta Sobana, is I think you would be very happy to hear this. There's a book. The title of the book is called "I Am Okay, You Are Okay." This book was written in 1960s by an American psychiatrist, and when I saw this book, actually, I fell in love with the book, and I started reading it, and I do talk about it a lot. So now I see the connection, what the psychiatrist is saying. Basically, being mindful of thoughts and then how these negative thoughts are impacting our life to making ourselves so miserable, and how we can improve our health and wellness by shifting our attention to something brighter or better. So I think this is the very reason why today's the modern psychology does talk about things. Like the psychologists always talk about this, what we call the shifting attention. So, so this shifting attention, the technique was first tried by the Buddha himself prior to his enlightenment. And he tested it for himself. He said, okay, now these are the major unwholesome thoughts destroying the peace of mind. And these are the three major wholesome thoughts bringing me to what I'm looking for. So I think this is a great sutra to discuss more in detail and see whether we can shed more light about the wisdom and insights we find in this sutra. So thank you, Venerable Shanta Sobana, presenting your ideas in such a beautiful way. So now we see next Venerable Trudeau from Florida. What's in your mind?
Salutations to all of the venerables here present here today, and I'd like to acknowledge all of the lay people, men and women here today. I feel right at home with all of you, very comfortable in your chairs, joining us on Zoom. I apologize for the interruption of standing up. I was trying to find my notes for today's discussion. Okay, that just all right. And yes, today's discussion is a very, very important in the Noble Eightfold Path. And I was wondering when we were going to cycle through the Noble Eightfold Path, and here it comes. Science tells us, research tells us, each day we experience about 70,000 separate thoughts each day. That is quite tormenting if you think about it. And there's three parts to right thought. And the first one is to become aware of our thinking process. The second is letting go of negative thought patterns. But I just want to rewind a little bit about the thinking process, being aware of our thinking process. As you all know, as you all recall, I have a lot of young students, and they're very, very honest, very, very funny. I had one that sat right behind me here one day, and we were talking as I was introducing cognitive behavioral therapy to him. And of course, young students always have so much going on: boyfriend, girlfriend, trying to pay their bills, trying to stay in school, homework, school balance. And in the middle of the conversation, as I'm keeping eye contact with him, he says, "Wait, my mind tripping right now?" And I think all of us were rolling on the ground laughing because he caught his mind tripping. The word tripping means it's out of control. His mind is playing tricks and games on him. It's being delusional right now, cannot see things as they are. But I thought that was such to capture that moment, and the art of psychotherapy is to always figure out where their mind is wandering, left, right, up, down, how they are creating hell for themselves right now in this very moment. So trying to be aware of our thought patterns, we also have to bring awareness into the practice of dependent origination, and going back even further and asking, why do I always have these angry thoughts? What conditioned me to have these angry thoughts? What conditioned me to not like people? Why do I separate us versus me versus them, I, me, they? You all get it, right? One has to question that, right? Part of being a philosopher and an effective Buddhist is to question the why. And to try to trace back as much as you can, as early as you can remember, who you were with, what you heard. I mean, if you were around a bunch of angry adults, you're more likely prone to be angry yourself later in life. And it really dictates, really override the compassion and deep understanding part of our life. We're more prone to judge if we grew up with a judgmental mother or any other figures in our lives. So I just wanted to bring that part of right thought into the awareness of thinking process. A lot of people are not aware of that. We're using the mind to fix the mind. We're using the one thing that causes us a lot of problems to try to fix itself. Science really help out. Modern day psychology, like cognitive behavioral therapy, helps you to think. You think the way how you feel the way how you think, thus leading to the behavior at hand. Then earlier, Venerable Santa Sobana, oh, I'm sorry, Jayasara, Venerable Jayasara, spoke about letting go of negative thought patterns. Then our next question becomes how? How do we let go? And now I want to kind of piggyback and try to help everyone connect the dots with some of the things that the venerables have said here. It's difficult letting go because clinging on. Our mind tells us it's safe. It's safer if you cling on to this, but if you let go, it's not going to be safe because you're vulnerable. It's like it's no different than me opening my hands like this, and I feel vulnerable, prone to attack. So that's what the mind is trying to do. Now, Venerable Sanatha Vihari, previous biweekly, spoke about sata. He's very, very on point with cultivating faith. And I want everyone to think about when you're at the dentist, faith and confidence in the dentist. If you have an emergency, like I did at one point with your tooth, you step into this office and they said, yeah, dentist, there's his degree. You should trust him. He's going to pull your teeth. He's going to cause a lot of excruciating pain. And I had to learn to trust my dentist. And as you sit in the chair, they recline you, they give you instruction, and you just do it. Because why do you do it? Why do you have to tilt your head back? Why do you have to sit still or open wider or do what they need to do so that you help your dentist get the job done and in the less painful way possible? Because you have unshakable faith and confidence. The word unshakable, Venerable Santa Sopana also reemphasizes over and over again. So when a monk tells you, and the Buddha told you to let go, you just have to pretend like you're going to be in a lot of excruciating pain. And it's just wise to listen to the wise, to listen to the office of the wise, to let go. It is a shot in the dark, isn't it? And of course, in many other talks, we also explain how to let go. But having faith in the monastic order, of which all of us had to renounce. The colors we wear is part of today's right thought. That we thought about renouncing, we thought about giving up, we thought about letting go. We had to let go of our old lives, our old identity, our old pain, sorrow, misery, in order to take this leap of faith, the sata, and to put our faith and confidence in the methods that the Buddha gave us so that we can, in fact, achieve true inner peace, liberation, and freedom. Also, I wanted, because we don't have a lot of monastics today, so as soon as I see, oh, okay, I see a hand already. I'll be considerate of the time.
Please take your time.
I'm just reviewing here real quick. Okay. Also known as right aspiration or right motivation. Motive. I also want to touch up on that. Our world conditioned us to accumulate more things, more status, more material wealth. Okay, you look next door, the White House, white picket fence, the Jones, trying to keep up with them. If she's wearing a 2-carat diamonds, you want to, wear a 3-carat. If he's driving a Mercedes and you run a Bentley. And this puts us in an unconscious race with our fellow humans. And under right thought is right intention. So the other thing is to bring to awareness, what is your motive? What is your motive right now? And that seems to really, people are like, huh? It's kind of like me taking a flashlight and or walking by a room where everyone is playing in the dark and you just hit the lights on and everyone was like, huh? Questioning motive is a very important thing. And questioning motive in other people in your life is also a important thing. The bigger the group, oh boy, we're going to have people with hidden agendas, do we not? And part of choosing people who are wise and friendly and compassionate and understanding, yeah, you really got to know, you got to really want to get to know these people on a very intimate level, confronting in the presence of another. So yeah, you really want to know what your intention is with them. You really want to know what their intention is with you. Don't don't fall into the trap of a room of thoughtless people. I think what I'm trying to say is a room full of thoughtful, intelligent people. And the word thoughtful can also go hand in hand with compassionate, understanding. When someone is thoughtful, right, they hold the door for you. When someone is thoughtful, they say excuse me. When they're thoughtful, they ask your permission. They ask for consent. If we look at all of the thoughtful things that humans do, we really appreciate them, and we say how beautiful that person actually really is. That person took the time out to listen to my story, to ask for clarifications, to apologize, to really try to communicate with me effectively during these difficult times, or trying to create harmony um, in my workplace. And lastly, I like to look through here in my little cheat sheet here. Right thought or intention means thoughts, feelings, desires, and intentions are in complete harmony with the wisdom of life, in accordance with the way reality works. This is more comprehensive. That's why I like this cheat sheet. With right thought, our thoughts and intentions are completely free from selfish desire, hostility, and cruelty. Right thought means our thinking, attitude, and motivation are rightly aligned with love, kindness, compassion, wisdom, and harmlessness. And these noble qualities are extended to all living beings. Right thought is directly related to right speech and the right action. The way we think always influences our speech and action. Therefore, our understanding of reality causes wrong thinking, which give rise to non-virtuous speech and action, which causes harm. Right thought gives rise to virtuous speech and action, which brings happiness and benefit. When our thought, desire, intention, and motivation are in harmony with reality, the way, the Dhamma, this is right thought. Through right thought, we cultivate wisdom, an essential aspect of the path. And so, yeah, I just wanted everyone to see the comprehensive paragraph that is there. And wrapping this up from my contributions, yeah, Venerable Saranampala knows that there's quite a few followers on my Instagram and TikTok and all of that. But I use it for social research actually. So earlier today, 6 hours today, I posted something what Plato said. It's right here. It says, by caring about the happiness of others, comma, we find our own. Okay, period. That's by Plato. But the most interesting thing in there is in comparison to another post that I wrote, received 900 likes, but that one only 50. Why 50 incomparable to the other post? Because we see the selfishness, we see everything that I read earlier under right thoughts, that how far people are, how far away they are, and even just the discomfort, even the discomfort of thinking about other people's happiness, right? We've been so conditioned, that vicious cycle, me, my, I. No, it's, when I'm sure in their mind, they're like, no, my happiness comes first. I'm not going to care about other people's happiness. Opposite of what our great philosophers have said. So it's by and through little experiments like this that gives me insight into the minds of my students out there, and how we need to do our part as Buddhists to look at our own motivation, desire, and aspiration, and practice loving kindness meditation, practice compassion, so that when we see other people happy, that right there is a great source of inspiration for our practice every single day. I'd like to yield the floor back to the monastics. Thank you so much for having me.
Thank you very much, Vidal, for sharing your thoughts, and also this is like you put the Plato's thought, and today I shared His Holiness Dalai Lama's saying our prime purpose in life. This life is to help others, and if you can't help them, at least don't hurt them. And I think this is in line with these teachings that we see the essence, the power of these teachings that can be applied to everyone. Thank you for sharing. I know wherever Twitter you actually do a lot of research and preparation for these things. You have notes, and it's always good to share these notes in simple ways. So thank you so much for sharing your wisdom with our audience. Next, we see Bante Kusala raising his hand. Bante Kusala from Boston. What's in your mind?
Bhante, I have been listening to what Venerable Tridao just briefed, and he brought up the Eightfold Path. And I like to also, this Eightfold Path leads to the ending of this sutta, where the Buddha actually gives us the result of this kind of thinking. That he says, when the mind was thus concentrated, purified, bright, unblemished, rid of defilement, pliant, malleable, steady, and attained to imperturbability, I directed it to higher knowledges. And the nature of a mind that is so developed, the language here is so fascinating. So, that the mind that earlier, that according to our discussions, we figured out that overthinking mind or unwanted thinking, and that mind is bent toward something else, a distraction for sure. And there are these people who always curse. They use a word that it shows how habituated they are. You hear it. And the other day I was with a friend, two friends, in a children's park. We were seated and having coffee, and it it I was very uncomfortable listening to how many words of curse he used in 5 minutes of conversation. And there were children around us. Because I felt so uncomfortable, I said, shall we maybe find a different place to continue our conversation? Because I see parents, maybe they were polite, they were not giving looks to us, but I can sense that maybe this is not great. It may have been so that this person lives in that way in his house all life. I was also looking at how my mind was reacting to it at the time. The Buddha indirectly here in this Vedha Vitakka Sutta speaks about loving kindness. How in those situations we can use, instead of angry thinking, we can say, may I suggest a different location. That kind of conversation brings peace. immediately in any conversation. I could notice that instead of confronting. We never know what we are going through. I saw this image. There's a circle and then there's a dot, and that dot is what we know of somebody else's life. We never know what the whole circle is doing in their lives. I may have mentioned that before. So this sutta, I think, if we really zoom in, we can see loving kindness in here instead of anger. Imagine aspiring Buddha, Bodhisattva, meditating in the forest. How can anger arise in him? There's nobody to fight. He was mostly alone. Maybe he had the five ascetics supporting him. And they can be a little annoying because they are pushing him to some kind of other path. The Buddha talks about it. He gives a simile here using deers. Deers can be fooled, and then a wise man comes and say that's the wrong path, and then those deers are directed in the right path. But just imagine the Bodhisattva was not even with the five ascetics. He was alone, and he had anger in him. You can be angry about someone you met in the past. You can be angry about something you imagine. You can be angry about a tree that is making noise, about a bird that is making noise. There are different ways that anger can be provoked. So, in fact, this morning I wrote this poem in English. I said, "Laugh at your anger. Never serve tea to your anger. It'll keep visiting you. It'll keep calling you. Never answer that call. Let it sleep. Never wake it up. Let it disappear. Be done with it."
Beautiful poem. You should publish it.
It's in the postcard. Maybe I can send it to somebody.
Yeah.
That kind of anger and then choosing loving kindness instead. You are the first person to benefit from it. You can see the immediate relief in you. And that immediate relief gives you the 11 kinds of benefit. Maybe we can discuss about it. You sleep well, you wake up well. These two things are very important. How many people struggle with sleep, whether you are in the forest or in a luxurious bed? It's not about the mattress, it's always about the mind. It's about dividing your thoughts properly, and it's not starting from the time you went to bed. It perhaps started when you woke up in the morning and how you lived your day and what happened maybe 30 minutes before you went to bed. And that keeps bothering you. And how many distractions can we bring to the bed? We can bring a cell phone to the bed. That is millions of distractions right there. You can be talking to someone out in Australia and be in bed and be angry with that person. And that is so true about our lives nowadays. That a simple thing, a word, can bring us a lot of anger.
Yeah.
And you won't be sleeping properly. Were you going to say something about that?
No. I was thinking, what you talking about is I'm touched by your phrase, never serve tea to the anger. I think that's what Buddha did. Like he stopped serving tea, the anger, the sensuality, the harmfulness, and like these thoughts, these are the three major negative thoughts we see, right? The thought of sensuality, thought of ill will or anger, the thought of harmfulness, and the opposite of it, the thought of renunciation, the thought of goodwill or loving kindness, and the thought of harmlessness. Now, when we let's talk about this, these are the three major negative thoughts the Buddha highlighted, and three negative, three positive. Now, why? There are other thoughts. Maybe these are the thoughts. It doesn't matter who we are. Like, we could be monks, they could be lay people. No matter where we live, we can. We may be from Asia. You may be from Western countries, Europe, or North America, South America, Africa. It doesn't matter what continent we live. Like, we are human beings. I think as human beings, we all are dealing with these thoughts almost every day. Like the sensual thought. Who can avoid that? The sensuality is everywhere. Because of the sensual thinking of sensuality, how much suffering people are going through. And they want sensuality, but they can't fulfill it, and it's causing anger. And then, because of going out of control, because of too much anger, for not having this sensuality, then you're trying to either harm yourself or you're trying to harm others to gain that sensuality, right? I think this is what I think I want to see more discussion on this. Like, this is the true psychology, right? Like, even how people become suicidal. Right? I know for a fact that a person, young man, became suicidal because he fell in love with this young lady, and she refused him. I said, "No, you are the person I want in my life." Right? So then, when she started rejecting him more and more, then he became suicidal, harming himself. And eventually he was about to take his own life. And there was too much anger and ill will towards
Bailey.
that person. And I think now, see whether we can shed more light in line with this thinking. I don't know, maybe Bhante Kusala or Bhante. I know Bhante Kusala and Bhante Sanat, we had. Both of you did a conversation. Did you already do it, or is it yet to come? You already had it. So can you shed more light in light of these thoughts? Bhante Sanat, we had.
Vandana, Venerables. Yes, Bhante, when you were talking about these kind of three thoughts and why would the Buddha pick these three thoughts over other thoughts? And
yeah.
I was thinking about the gradual training, right? Like, especially when we look at the Digha Nikaya and we see that the Buddha always starts with the benefits of giving, right? Dana. So what does that mean? It's the opposite of like greed, isn't it? Of sensuality. It's nekama, letting go. Right? So the first thought you need to have is to develop dana, to be able to give. Right? And then what's next? Sila. What's sila? It's not harming. That means not being angry and not being cruel, not hurting others, right? So then I see these three thoughts as really the development of the beginning of the gradual training of practicing dana and sila. Right? And then you can take that further into meditation, which will be bhavana, the next part of the gradual training. And you begin to change your mind. You begin to change the way you think and the motivations and desires that you have. So when it comes to why the Buddha chose these three thoughts, I really think because they're getting us into the gradual training. It's so important for us to get into this kind of thinking. And also when we look at the suttas, there's where the Buddha explains like how all the violence begins in the world is because people are greedy, right? People start hoarding things. People start dividing up the land, and I'm going to get all this food for me, and I'm not going to share it with others. And So from greed comes anger, right? Resentment. And from that comes violence and cruelty because people want to take back those resources, right? So this is another reason that comes to mind. And then other one is when the Bodhisattva, the Buddha remembers he was only a Bodhisattva. He was the chaplain minister to a king, and there's a lot of crime going on, right? And then instead of punishing them, the Buddha says, give them what they need, right? Dana, he tells the king, give them the things that they need. And then people won't practice violence anymore, right? So we see the same pattern, right? We see the same pattern of giving, the same pattern of goodwill and compassion over and over and over and over again. Maybe we don't hear Sankappa, maybe we don't hear Vitaka, but they're practiced in action and in speech and in the Sangha and in society. So I think it's just the same message, right? So many times we talk about that the Buddha only taught, the dukkha and the path to the end of dukkha, right? That's all the Buddha taught. So I think, we can also say all the Buddha taught was like, nekama, avyapada, and avihimsa, the same thing over and over and over again, just in different ways, Bhante. But I also wanted to share a story, Bhante, about like the thinking, the thoughts going back to the beginning.
Please go ahead.
A couple of years ago, this Mexican American lady, she sent me a message and she seemed very troubled and it seemed very urgent, like an emergency. And so I answered right away and I said, what's going on? She's like, Bhante, I need your help. I can't stop thinking. I'm thinking too much and it's bothering me too much. I don't know what to do. I try to practice meditation. I read the suttas. I listen to your Dhamma talks, but just all this thinking, I don't know what to do. Please help me. And then I said, okay, imagine this scenario first before I tell you anything. Just imagine this. From the moment that you wake up to the moment that you go to sleep, you have thoughts of loving kindness and compassion, right? Thoughts that benefit others and benefit you. And you're thinking this all day, right? Non-stop thinking, compassion, love, kindness, all these things. Do you think you would have called me today? No, Bhante. Why not? Well, those thoughts are very nice, Bhante. I wouldn't have to call you. So is the problem thinking or what you're thinking? She goes, oh, Bhante, it's what I'm thinking. Right? Unskillful thinking. So, there's this kind of like narrative in the West that thinking is bad, right? Like a lot of people come to meditation because they want to get rid of thinking, because they don't know how to properly think, right? They're looking for they think that samadhi is like a lobotomy or something like that, where they won't have to think anymore. But we see that the Buddha wants you to think, but he wants you to think the right way, right? To have the right view, to have the right intentions, to have the right kind of thoughts and desires, even desire, right? Kusala chanda, like all these things are right. So there's like all these misconceptions about what the Buddha taught, and sometimes we think that we need to get rid of thoughts, but it's about being skillful and having wholesome thoughts, properly being able to use, like Bhante Punjaji would always focus, right? Selective thinking. Instead of thinking whatever thought comes to mind, you choose the thought, you select the thought that you want to come to mind. And that's really the training of the Chatari Samapadana, right? Like the Samavayama, being able to choose one thought over another, right? If an unwholesome thought arises, you get rid of it, Papana, eliminate it. How do you eliminate it? In Taka Sutta, Bhante, in the Vitaka Sutta, it says that you eliminate the unwholesome thoughts of greediness, of anger, and ill will by replacing them with the wholesome thoughts of renunciation, avyapada, and ahimsa, right? And in the Vitaka Santana Sutta, in the Dvaita Vitaka Sutta, it gives the example of a carpenter, right, working, and they have these pegs because there wasn't any nails. And he says you take one out by replacing it with the other one, you push it out, like with the other one. So what do we do when we get angry thoughts? We replace them with a wholesome thought, right? With a kind thought. So it's not just about like being mindful and letting anything happen, right? It's not just only mindfulness alone, but you need to be active. When you notice an unwholesome thought, yes, you're mindful first. And then you need to start, like it says in the sutta, is this beneficial for me, beneficial for others? Does it promote intelligence? Does it sensitivize? Does it conduce to nibbana? You have to analyze the thought, mindful, and then you also, sati sampajanya, right? And you also use dhamma vichara because it comes after sati. So you analyze it. And then after you analyze it, you cultivate the opposite, which is the wholesome thought, right? So it's not just being mindful and being kind of like, okay, just let all the bad thoughts come to mind. No, we have to actually eliminate the bad thoughts. It's not just about being aware of them. I love this. One more story, but I want to tell the one that Ajahn Brahm shares all the time.
Yeah.
About there was this lady who had a guard at her house, right? And she says, I'm going to go on vacation. I'm going to leave for some time. I want you to take care of the house. I want you to be really mindful, right? Mindful all the time. Bante knows this one. And he goes, yes, ma'am, I'll be mindful the whole time. So she leaves and she comes back and she sees that everything's missing. And she said, what happened? You're the guard. I told you to be mindful all the time. He's like, yes, I was mindful. I was mindful when the robbers came in. I was mindful when they picked up the TV. I was mindful when they took it outside. I was mindful of everything that they did. Yeah. Mindfulness is not enough. You need to have wisdom, discernment. What these people are doing is wrong. They're stealing. This is wrong. I should do something good. What can I do that's good? Well, I should call the police or do something to stop them, right? Yeah. So mindfulness is not enough. We need discernment. We need Dhamma Vichaya to analyze, to investigate. Is this a wholesome or unwholesome, right? We need to clearly comprehend. Sampajanya, understand clearly and comprehend what's going on. And then do the wholesome thing, right? Do the wholesome thing. So I think, this sutta is so important because it takes us beyond mindfulness. I remember, was it like last year, 2 years ago, there was a conference, right? Like, what's next beyond mindfulness? Yeah. I think there was a conference like that. And to me, it was very simple. I was like, oh, Dhamma Vichaya is right next. It's right after mindfulness, like in the Sattva Bojjhanga. So now we need to not only be mindful, but analyze what Dhamma, what is this a Kusala Dhamma or a Kusala Dhamma, right? And then be able to act in the proper way. So I kind of like, that's why I love kindfulness, Bante, because it's more than just being mindful. Kind means to do something, right? You have to act. And we act in meditation by replacing the unwholesome thoughts with the wholesome thoughts. So I love Bante's book. I'm reading it right now. I was telling Bante, because I'm really about taking action, even in our meditation. Instead of this passive meditation where we're just trying to get rid of our thinking or letting thoughts float around in there and just do it. No, we need to be active. We need to remove. We need to have virya. We need strength and power to get rid of these thoughts too, So Bante, that's what I wanted to share on this topic of this.
Thank you, Bante Sanat Vihari. I think you shed more light. Your story is also very powerful. And also thank you for telling that Ajahn Brahm's story. it explains everything, right? And even your story with this Mexican lady, even normally people try to get help when they're in trouble. They call you immediately, Bante, I need your help. But when they are doing okay, you don't even exist in their life. But there are some grateful people. They just call, thank you, Bante, for helping me. I'm just calling you to see how you're doing. I think this is a wholesome thought, right? It's very interesting. So, and also what you brought up is Sattva Bojjhanga Dhamma, the 7 factors of enlightenment. These are very important teaching. This is exactly what I think the Buddha did when he was experimenting this thinking to thinking. And there was mindfulness, and he mentions that in the sutra. When he became mindful of this thought, the thought of sensuality, thought of anger, thought of harmfulness is present. Then he said that when he became fully mindful of this is present, it stopped growing. And then it started dwindling. I think this is the power of this mindfulness. I think now, today in the Western world, there are so many people of mindfulness masters, mindfulness teachers. I think majority of the people are not aware of this mindfulness practice done by the Buddha, how it helped him become enlightened. So these the 7 factors, the Dhamma Vichaya is also very important. Then you have to understand all of this. There's a thought. Is this a good thought or bad thought? Is that good for me or good for others? If it is just good for me, then again, if you don't entertain it just for yourself, but it could be harmful to other people. So I think this investigation, this analysis, is very important. I think that is also part of this Sati Sampajanya, is the Satipatthana Sutta. So we can apply these techniques for our own healthier, happier life, for our own betterment. So I want to see. I know we are coming to the end of the discussion. We have 15 more minutes. Venerable Trudeau, you raised your hand again. You want to share more?
Yes, I think there is a word that was left.
There is,
Yes. Thank you
Yeah.
for having me back. I think there a word that was left out, and in response to the suicidal thing, or people who have suicidal thoughts, is perpetual. The word here is perpetual. Is that people recycle the past over and over again? How did it happen? Why did it happen? How did it happen? Why did it happen? And we've seen, even before COVID, we've seen a hike in people 18 to 25, and even across the lifespan spectrum of suicidal rates, citing what research said: accumulated despair. And I would assert, in part of that, the accumulated perpetual cycle of recycling of the past. And the mind finds faults. We know that. It's just the mind was designed to veer towards negativity. It's funny. It's designed that way to ensure our survival, but obviously somewhere down the line, it's a double-edged sword, where it also assists us in accumulating so much despair that we're driven to suicides. And the other thing is, as today we talk about the how in cultivating right thoughts, and how to battle effectively against the perpetual negativity of our minds and what the world is trying to do to us, the TV, CNN, MSNBC, all of the news outlet, is um I so Venerable Saranapala is on my Facebook, and Venerable Sanatha Vihari pops up from time to time. And you go on your phone, you see, and I keep on looking at the frequency and recency of Venerable Saranapala, the series of grab your coffee, Dhamma talk, and the 10 steps to this, 11 steps to happiness. He's got a whole series. And if I were to train more novice monks, I mean, the few that I have now is already driving me crazy, but down the road, I have decided to make it mandatory that they have to listen to you for one entire year. Before their bhikkhu ordination, they have to program their minds, these Dhamma talks, the downloading, the right downloading of information diet. I mean, it's no different than when I started out, having to every day look for information to decipher, to distill, to disseminate how we're going to teach the people in a way that they could understand what is most useful, what is most beneficial. So for all the lay people that is out there who struggles with the vicious cycle of the perpetual mind of negativity, one way to combat that is a sheer determination that tomorrow morning I'm going to grab my coffee and I'm going to join Venerable Saranapala on Zoom with the rest of all of the Canadians that's there and everyone else around the world that's listening. It is one way. It is one way, in addition to reading and just jamming your head with all of these books of positivity. It's so good. It's like food for the soul, food for, just chicken soup for the soul. We know those series of books. And for, the life of the Buddha, the biography of the Buddha emphasizes faith. All right. And then you have the monastic order that, teaches you the hows in small increment, easy to digest, along with the morning coffee. So I'd like to yield the floor back to everyone else, but thank you. I just wanted to add that towards the end.
Oh, thank you very much. Very so kind of you. And I know that people are using social media. They're spreading the negativity, but I'm using the social media to add something positive. I think we need a balance here. So, Venerable Shanta Sobana, you raised your hand again.
Yes,
the-
but I want to just give some information regarding the sutra to our audience.
Yeah.
That if anybody want to look for a change and like that, always remember to have a higher purpose.
Mm.
Because once you have a higher purpose, that will help you to cling and hold and go with it rather than go with your own mind. And another thing is that whoever around the people that need to remember not to label people and give a chance, because sometimes as when someone do a mistake and other people may be repeating that mistake and start to call him and put label on that person and then keep repeating and reminding, oh remember you did that, remember you did that. So like that, most of time we see in our ordinary life we are not available to give a chance to others. So I think according to this sutra, that it always say even though person make a mistake, sometimes there is a that different person inside that the skin. So with the compassion, with the loving kindness, if we can open our hand, our heart to other people and whoever made a mistake, okay, give it. I will give her a chance and try again and move forward. So like that, even in a family. So it's kind of like I think it's give us opportunity to bring the teachings to practice, because end of the day we are the one who need to change ourselves, and at the same time out of our change other people should get the benefit. So if we look in that way, it become a more profitable skill to all of us. And I want to give that, give a chance to others. It's okay. Whatever I have done, it's okay. Just give a chance. Maybe next time it's going to work or not, it's okay. But still we have to believe the change. Because when it comes to fundamentally, according to the Buddha's teaching, everything changed. So we don't need to hold it to thinking or believing, oh, that is the only thing. No.
Yeah, that is. I think Venerable Santa Soban. I really like the how you use this the phrase higher purpose. Everybody should have a higher purpose, and I think even in this sutra, Buddha did have this higher purpose, right? His higher purpose was nirvana, enlightenment, and then he realized these negative thoughts are not serving him to achieve his high purpose. Then he chose to let them go. Like even here, for practical reasons for the people in day-to-day life, people also could think about. They could be mindful of this kind of three negative thoughts, three positive thoughts. Okay, the thought of sensuality, the thought of anger, thought of harmfulness. Do these thoughts serve me for my higher purpose? Now, what could be the higher purpose? I think the people would agree. Everybody would agree. I think the higher purpose of every human being is to be happy, to become happy. So now, does this particular thought, negative thought, help you find your own happiness and also for the happiness of others? So then, Buddha also, okay, these are the three kinds of thoughts. The thought of renunciation, letting go, the sensuality, sensual pleasures, and the thought of goodwill, loving kindness, and the thought of harmlessness. Actually, this is good for everyone. For me personally, I'm at peace with these thoughts, and my peace is also having a big impact on the people around me and globally. And I think this is very important for us to have this or to do this reflection. This is for kind of maybe positive reinforcement given to oneself, and helping everyone to become mindful of this in every day. Like, I think maybe this is the final reflection for us. Like maybe I'm just like, I know Venerable Trudeau, you just said, how like a person gets more than 17,000 thoughts a day. Of course, scientifically proven this. Now, out of these thoughts, like, when I used to teach at the University of Toronto, I have given an assignment to experimental assignment. I say, you guys don't have to go to the library to read extra books. Your assignment is this. Like, you just wake up one day, like in the morning, whatever time you get up, and just observe the thought. From that moment till you hit the bed in the night, throughout the day, whatever thoughts pop up, just write them down. And you could do this for a couple of days, and see the number of thoughts, whether they are negative or positive. And then, of course, some students actually chose to do this assignment, and they were so surprised that out of these 17 or 18,000 thoughts, like almost all the thoughts are negative. Like, thinking of the sensuality, and the thinking of something or somebody with anger, and then the thinking of harming. So these are, I said, this is how people become unhealthy, right? Live an unhealthy life. So here is a way how you could live your life with good health, and how you could make yourself happy. So this is a very important teaching that could be practiced by everybody. So I'm very grateful to all of you, venerable, I would say venerable sirs, all the venerable monks who came onto Zoom platform to share your own experience, your own insights, for the greater benefit of all the people who are watching this program. And this is a good karma that we are doing together, and we are bringing so much light, and people are greatly appreciating this on this Canadian Thanksgiving Day. I would like to express my true gratitude to all of you for coming bi-weekly. Now, more than 2 years, we have done this great work, and I'm truly, truly grateful to you for making time to join this discussion, to share these words of wisdom for the greater benefit of people around the world. And also, those who are in Canada, or especially in Toronto, if you're free on coming Saturday, October 14th, on that day, I would like to encourage you to, or personally invite you to attend our annual conference dubbed as Kindful Canada Symposium, a national conference on mental health and kindfulness. So you can find all the details in my timeline, and also in our mission website, Canada. Okay? And if you have people, friends, colleagues living in Toronto or Greater Toronto area, please ask them to come and join this discussion. On this day, I'm also doing the book launch. As you can see, the Are You Kindful? This is the new book I'm publishing, and it's already out. Actually, you can find this in investor.com. I know Venerable Sanat Vihari already got the book and he's reading, and so I will do official book launching of this book on October 14th at the conference. So I would like to invite all of you to be part of this great movement. So with this in mind, I would like to respectfully and kindly invite our Bante Nanda from Long Island to recite over the Patimokkha verses for us today.
Thank you. Sabba passa akaranang usalassa upasampada sacitta pariyodapanang etang buddhan sasanang Hanti paramang tapoti tikha nibbanang paramang vadanti buddha nahi pappajito parupadhati samanoti parang vihetayang Anupavado Anupavado Patimokkhecha Samvaro Mattanyutacha Bhattasmin Pantanca Sayanasanang Adhijitteca Ayogo Etang Buddhana Sasanang
Sadhu, sadhu, sadhu. Thank you, Bhante Nanda, for beautifully reciting over the Patimokkha verses. It's actually so relaxing, so calming, and you have such a beautiful chanting voice. So thank you so much. And I'm truly, truly grateful and thankful to all of you for coming together to share the wisdom, the words of Dhamma for the greater benefit of all. And on this Canadian Thanksgiving Day, I would like to give my thanks to all of you. And may all the blessings of the Buddha, Dhamma, the Sangha continue to be with all of you. And also with our friends who join the Zoom platform, our lay friends, and who are watching this program on Facebook and YouTube Live. May all the blessings of the Noble Triple Gem continue to be with all of you for your longevity, happiness, peace of mind. May Devas, celestial beings, continue to protect and guard all of